Well, it looks like Apple's thinnest iPhone ever might also be the flattest performer in terms of sales. According to the information, the iPhone Air hasn't exactly lived up to its name. It's less flying off the shelves and more floating gently into the clearance bins. The report claims Apple's now decided to delay the next generation iPhone Air, which was supposed to launch alongside the iPhone 18 Pro in late 2026. So yeah, the ultra thin, ultra premium, ultra pricey iPhone Air is officially grounded. Apple's plan was to release a second generation Air next autumn, but that's no longer happening. Since its September debut, reports of poor sales have been piling up and Apple's supply chain seems to have read the room pretty early. Foxconn has already dismantled almost all of iPhone Air production lines, keeping just 1.5 active. 1.5! That's not a manufacturing operation, that's a mercy continuation. Luxshare, another supplier, has already thrown in the towel completely, having stopped assembling at the end of October. So if you're one of the few people who actually own an iPhone Air, congratulations! You're holding on to what soon might become a very rare piece of Apple history. To be fair, the iPhone Air had a bold vision behind it. It was Apple's first significant design shake-up since the iPhone X back in 2017, a super slim 5.6mm frame, featherweight builds, all-glass elegance. It was meant to be a statement piece showing that Apple could still pull off an engineering flex in a world where every phone looks the same. The problem? You can only shave off so much before you start cutting into the things that matter, like camera versatility, battery life, and apparently sales. See, the iPhone Air launched at $999, a price that instantly put it in a weird place. That's just $100 less than the iPhone 17 Pro, which offers triple cameras, a bigger battery, and a much more balanced feature set. At that point, most buyers would just shrug and say, might as well go Pro. And on the other side, the Air is $200 more than the base iPhone 17, which is arguably one of the best value iPhones Apple's made in years. So it's squeezed into a price bracket that doesn't make much sense. Not premium enough to be pro, but also not affordable enough to be mainstream. And honestly, the single rear camera didn't help its case either. At £999 here in the UK, people expect at least 2 lenses, maybe even 3. It's not about photography anymore, it's about perception. A single camera on the back of a £1,000 iPhone just looks off, like someone forgot to finish the design. The Air might have made sense around £799, maybe £849 as a stylish minimalist iPhone for design lovers, but at £999, it's asking people to pay near pro money for something that's intentionally less capable. Then there's the battery situation. Because it's so thin, a lot of people assume the battery would be terrible, and while that perception definitely hurt the Air's image, it's not entirely fair. In reality, the endurance is reportedly better than expected. It's not Pro Max level obviously, but it's not the disaster some people think it is. Still, perception matters, and once the idea spreads that thin equals bad battery, it's hard to shake that. And here in the UK, we're already seeing the reality of that. The iPhone Air has already started getting discounted to around £899, which is pretty unusual this early in its life. That's a clear sign retailers, and maybe Apple itself, are struggling to move stock. When an iPhone starts dropping in price just a few months after release, you know demand's weaker than expected. Quick reminder, hit subscribe and tap the hype button below if you enjoy this kind of deep dive. It helps a small channel like mine massively, and you'll get the latest Apple news the second it drops. Appreciate the support as always. What makes the Air situation even more frustrating for me is what it replaced, the iPhone 17 Plus. And I'll be honest, this one stings. The Plus was the perfect sweet spot for a lot of people, including me. It gave you the large screen and the battery life of the Pro Max, but at a lower price and without the unnecessary camera extras most people don't actually use. It was a great big iPhone for normal users. But the Plus didn't exactly set the world on fire either, and that's the recurring issue. Apple's been trying for years to find a successful fourth iPhone, the extra model that fills the gap between the regular and Pro line. They've tried everything. The iPhone mini was cute but tanked because of its battery, the Plus had great endurance and screen size, but failed to stand out, and now the Air, which was meant to bring design flair back into the lineup, has also underperformed. Clearly this formula is not working. Honestly, I think Apple had it right during the iPhone 11 era. Just 3 models, the iPhone 11, 11 Pro, and 11 Pro Max. Simple, clean, easy for customers to understand, no awkward middle child, and it sold incredibly well. The more Apple's lineup grows, the more confusing it gets, and the Air only adds to that confusion. Still, Apple isn't giving up on the idea just yet. The company's reportedly been working on a second generation iPhone Air that's lighter, includes vapor chamber cooling, and packs a larger battery, all while staying ultra thin. But this delay to 2027 gives them time to rethink the design entirely. According to the information, one of the main goals now is to add a second ultra-wide camera, which frankly should have been there from the start, but adding that extra lens is not easy. Apple have to completely rework the internal structure, since the current Air's design uses a raised plateau section to fit the existing components and battery. To squeeze in another camera without making it thicker will be a serious engineering challenge. This redesign reportedly coincides with Apple's new split release cycle. The iPhone 18 Pro, 18 Pro Max, and the long-awaited foldable iPhone are still expected in autumn 2026. Meanwhile, the standard iPhone 18, 18e, and now likely this redesigned iPhone Air 2 will launch in spring 2027. So Apple's moving from one big iPhone launch a year to two smaller waves, which is a smart move in terms of keeping momentum and media attention going throughout the year. But even with all that, the question remains, who is the iPhone Air really for? It's too expensive to be an entry-level iPhone, too compromised to be a Pro, and too niche to be a mainstream choice. It's caught in an identity crisis, and Apple hasn't quite figured out what it wants this product to represent. Is it a style statement, a tech showcase, a lightweight flagship? Because right now, it feels like a solution in search of a problem. To give Apple credit though, the Air is an impressive piece of engineering. Holding one in person is a bit surreal. It's so slim it almost doesn't feel real. But once you start using it, you quickly realize that thinness doesn't automatically make the experience better. It feels amazing, don't get me wrong, but that wow factor does fade fast. So where does Apple go from here? Realistically, they'll tweak, refine, and reposition. They always do. They've done it with the Apple Watch, the HomePod, the iPad mini, all products that started with unclear identities before eventually finding their place. But this time, they'll need to rethink both the design and the price strategy, because ultimately the iPhone S problem isn't that it's bad, it's just that it's misplaced. If Apple launched the base iPhone 17 at $699 and this iPhone Air at $799 and marked it as a sleek alternative to the base iPhone rather than a near pro contender, it might have been a hit. But by pricing it at $999, they invited direct comparisons to the Pro, and that's a battle the Air was never gonna win. Maybe the foldable iPhone will finally become that fourth iPhone Apple's been chasing for years. At least it offers something the others can't replicate, a completely different form factor. If the Air was about looking elegant, the foldable could be about doing something completely new. And that might be the key to success, because as sleek as the Air is, it doesn't really offer a new experience, it's just the same iPhone, flatter. Still, I wouldn't count the Air out completely. Apple rarely kills off ideas after one generation. They refine, they iterate, and they quietly relaunch when no one's looking. So maybe in 2027, we'll see an iPhone Air 2 that's thinner, smarter, cheaper, and more balanced. Until then, if you see someone using an iPhone Air, give them credit. They're part of an exclusive club, or as Foxconn call it, 1.5 production line society. And if you're enjoying these updates and want to stay ahead of all things Apple, from the next Gen Air to the upcoming foldable, make sure to subscribe and tap the hype button. It genuinely helps a small channel like mine reach more people, and there's plenty more Apple drama on the way that you wouldn't want to miss. Thanks for watching.